And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Anthony Dahl, who asked the question, who won the fight? Pinhead or Pyramidhead from Silent Hill? Now, Pinhead actually has a real name. I can't remember his real name off the top of my head. I do know he was a human. He basically became obsessed with the Lament configuration from the Hellraiser series and eventually turned into a Cenobite. Now, what the Cenobites actually are, it does tend to vary a little bit depending on movie to movie, but they are generally a type. Not exactly demon, but they're a type of demon. Though Pinhead at one point does refer to himself as neither demonic or angelic. To some they are demons, to some they are angelic in nature. It is all a matter of interpretation. Pinhead, though, for all intent and purposes, would be considered by most people's standards a demonic entity of some level. Now, Pinhead is more or less the leader of the Cenobites, and they're basically about punishment, torture, all that good jazz. And some weird level of BDSM, sadomasochistic, mutilation, eroticism. It's like, we'll tear your soul apart. Time to play. So, Pinhead's abilities, he's pretty much not truly bound by any real restrictions. Like, you can't kill him in a normal sense. Like, the bolt's not going to do it. I guess in theory you could blow him up, but he's bound by the Lament configuration, the Hellraiser box. So, because of that, he's technically immortal, but like any entity of a demonic, slightly demon-esque nature, you could probably kill him with holy-ass rocks, although he was in a church at one point and just, like, did the whole Jesus thing. Yeah, he did that. So, it's very difficult to really get a true weakness on him. In terms of his abilities aren't true, like, the full extent of his abilities are not defined. But we know he can just summon shades out of anywhere, really. Manipulate them to his heart's content and with his will alone. Causing them to pierce, pull, tear, everything along those lines. Blades, things along those lines are also his bidding. He can teleport at will. He can pretty much kind of create things just from will alone. But that being said, he's not invincible. Obviously, he's been defeated in each incarnation of the Hellraiser series in some way, shape, or form, but usually through certain means. He's also been shown to actually, in terms of his actual power, he's been shown to hold his own, but against someone of at least comparable strength, he pretty quickly lost. I can't remember which Hellraiser it was, but one of the Cenobites actually challenged him for his role as the leader, and he lost for a little while. Then they lost, got their ass kicked or whatever, and then he came back and said, I'm back. So it's a little difficult to pinpoint where he stands in the combat area of things. Pyramidhead. Boop. Pyramidhead is very, and hopefully this image will not get flagged by YouTube. I hope. It's kind of bad, but it should be okay. Just for the sake of things, you know what? Just for the safety's sake, let me get another Pyramidhead photo up here real quick, just so we can I'll even just use the one from like the games. Okay, there we go. So we're fine. I was looking at that picture more and more. I'm like, ooh, with the way YouTube's working right now, not that this video is going to probably get enough hits to really matter that much in terms of like profit or whatever, and I don't make money on this channel right now. I actually could be making money right now. It just wouldn't be enough to warrant the hassle. Plus, splitting the take with me and Mark, and then what we do with that is, it's just, right now, me and Mark are not making anywhere near enough on this channel to really warrant that. Pyramidhead, it's a little ill-defined what Pyramidhead is. I will admit that I am not an avid player of Silent Hill. I can't say I've actually ever played a Silent Hill game, and I've barely seen any of the movies. What is kind of illustrated, though, is that this is a demon spirit entity of some sort. Now, he's not a hero, but oddly enough, he's not a villain either. He's kind of an impartial judge. Now, and this is, again, while I can't say I've watched Silent Hill or anything without looking into what he is, because he'll go after you, sure, but it's more about going after something it's more about guilt than anything else. Granted, he'll murder you regardless, in theory, if you're like nearby. But given the choice between like two targets, he will kind of aim for the one who's a bit more of a guilty party in this. And I mean, he does that with his giant F-off cleaver knife thing here. He obviously has that. He's also usually followed by a trail of bugs that, at least in the movies anyway. He's very powerful, obviously, to be able to swing that around. And he's not the only one. There are more of him. But unfortunately, that is where the issue comes in this fight, is that Pinhead, if these two faced off, he's kind of coming at Pinhead. Even if he were to somehow charge, Pinhead could easily just wrap him up with chains and then eventually rip him apart. Unfortunately, from the little I know of Pyramidhead, even if I were to bring up the actual wiki right here, what do we have to really say about Pyramidhead? And then making sure we're not going to get flagged for any bad imagery. Silent Hill. He's followed by hundreds of creepers using the great knife of him to fillet a thick steel door and failed attempt to kill Rose and Sybil Bennett. He later appears in a church and assaults Anna, lifting her up. What his actual capabilities are, symbiosis, interesting. But what his actual abilities are beyond just being like a tower or brute force, it's a little ill-defined. So it's tough. He can maybe some of those bugs, and they could, in theory, swarm Pinhead, but Pinhead could easily just avoid them. So you can easily avoid them just by staying out of their way. So unfortunately, Pyramidhead could easily hurt Pinhead. I don't think that's an issue at all in this fight. I think he could, even if he got close, got close enough, he could easily cut him. And that's all she. Well, that's not true. That's a debilitating injury for him. But Pinhead can easily probably come back from that, and we've seen him come back from bad injuries before. So I can't say that Pyramidhead, unfortunately, brings anything to the table that could directly, compete with. And sorry, it's Healthy Go for all your Healthy Go needs. I can't say he could do anything that could directly compete with Pinhead. Pyramidhead, Jesus. He can't do anything that can directly compete with Pinhead. So, unfortunately, I gotta go pretty much all the time. Pinhead's gonna win this fight. Now, in theory, I suppose there is some circumstance where Pyramidhead wins. This isn't one of those fights that's basically an individual who could always win versus an individual who will never win. This is because both these guys are supernatural beings. So, in that sense, if Pyramidhead could get a legitimate solid strike down the middle, or that would be legitimately debilitating, because he's a supernatural entity like Pinhead, maybe not in the same vein, he's not a Cenobite per se, but because they're both similar supernatural entities, at least in some regard, a debilitating strike from the blade might be enough to put him down, or at least incapacitate him, which would give him Pyramidhead the win. But it'd be a slim margin for that to happen. I think Pyramidhead more than likely would just be keeping him at a distance most of the time, and that'd pretty much be it, and then just using the chains to quickly tear him apart. So I gotta go Pinhead in this fight, but let me know if you think differently. Obviously, I don't know enough about Silent Hill to really give a true opinion. That is the problem with horror-themed ones, is that with some of them, like Jason and Freddy, I generally have a pretty solid knowledge about them. Even Pennywise, I have a pretty good knowledge about. Michael Myers, I have pretty good knowledge about. Pyramidhead, not so much. Pinhead, I've had Pinhead on the series before, but no. These are characters that are definitely lesser known in my archive of knowledge. So, anyway, though, if you've got a different idea of how this fight would go down, let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Thanks for watching. I'll be enjoyed, and I'll be back with What If in a little while.